slash everyone, are we going to do an episode next week? What's a Christmas special, or is this the Christmas special?
No, we're doing a longer one on Monday or whatever, Tuesday.
Okay, cool, perfect. Just so that at the end I can say we'll be back next week.
Right, we've got 60 seconds and then we're starting, and I'm gonna go get myself a beveragini.
All right, I'm going to do a tweet from the Fantasy Weekly, which I'd appreciate if you guys could retweet. Can people hear us? I don't know. Holly's in the house.
I don't know what's going on, but I can hear like 10 conversations in my ear.
Okay, Holly, are you okay? Is this something you want to talk about?
Basically, I can hear everything that everyone's said in the last minute.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Maybe that you've got the volume on the stream.
Oh, yeah. Either
that or you're going insane. It's one of the two. And to be quite frank, the jury's still out.
I can still hear it, though. Let me get rid of it. Oh, I know what's happened. Because I forgot the thing up on this side. I'm an idiot.
Well, we knew that already, Holly, but...
We'll blame it on baby brain.
Yeah, exactly. It must be useful, actually, having that as a fallback.
Yeah, it's perfect.
You can just be like...
I'm just mincing it for all I can at the minute.
Yeah. Oh, you got to. Do you miss the shandies?
Well, I do feel like tonight I would have a big gin and tonic in hand.
Yeah.
Black Friday.
Mad Friday.
What? Is that what you call it? We call it Black Friday, innit?
All right.
Black Friday.
We are live. Okay, I'm going to count from 5 to 0. But you're, James, not going to hear 2 or 1. You're just going to have to do it in your head. And then when you think it's at 0, you start, okay? It's going to be great. Okay. So I'm going to go 5, 4, 3, and then you're going to, in your head, go 2, 1, and then start at 0. I believe in you, James.
All right. Let's just, firstly, to Kenneth, you'll be able to see our faces imminently. Don't worry.
5 seconds, Kenneth.
5 seconds, Kenneth. Our faces are yours.
5, 4, 3.
I'm only joking. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 19, season 2 of the Fantasy Weekly podcast, brought to you by footstock.com. We are here. We are live in full HD Technicolor for a Game Week 14 special. This is not, listeners or viewers, as it may be, our Christmas special. We will be back next Wednesday as normal for a Christmas special. We'll be looking ahead to Game Week 15, but we'll also be doing some festive, fun activities that I'm yet to think of. But this podcast is all about reflections on Game Week 13, which has only just finished. It finished last night, and a look ahead to Game Week 14, which starts tomorrow. These game weeks are coming thick and fast. For the most part, this is going to be a Q&A. So if you're listening to this retrospectively, I apologise. You will not be able to partake in the Q&A. If you have tuned in live, however, thank you, firstly. Secondly, get those questions in the chat. I will try to remain as vigilant as possible. I'll keep my eye on the chat, and we will try to answer all of your questions. Firstly, let me introduce the panel. We have a full squad, unlike some teams in the Premier League at the moment. Let's start with Ben Dinnery, riding high with the highest game week score of the panel in Game Week 13. Ben, how you doing?
I'm doing a lot better than I have been doing in recent game weeks. Thank you for asking.
Okay, do you want to talk about it?
Do you want to talk about it?
I mean, I'd rather you do, but I can do it on your behalf if you like.
Rashford.
Marcus Rashford. Now, for anyone uninitiated, although I would assume most people watching this are initiated, but for those who maybe aren't aware, Ben Dinnery decided around the same time that Marcus Rashford launched his fundraising drive to raise money for impoverished children in the UK, Ben Dinnery decided on the back of that he would captain Rashford for the remainder of the season, a decision which, quite frankly, has been mocked by the rest of the Fantasy Weekly panel. Well, no longer are we mocking you, Ben. After 2 goals, what a performance by him, 14 points, your highest point scorer in game week 13, and quite frankly, a game week saver in many regards. If he had blanked, you would have been in the depths with good old James Copeland. But as it is, 59 points for you in game week 13, not bad at all.
I was in dire straits before last night's games.
Yeah.
Picked up a clean sheet with Martinez, and then Rashford delivered. Only disappointed that Maguire didn't do a little bit better. But
yeah.
Rashford looked more like his old self. He looked sharp. He looked on it. I don't know if that shoulder injury that he's been managing in recent times. I don't know if that's been hampering, but he's been poor in the Premier League. And had I not stated that Rashford would be me set and forget, he would have been out of my team a long time ago. So I'll be thankful for small mercies, and I will take every single one of those 28 points. Although my major gripe is he doesn't pick up 3 bonus points. McGoldrick did, with possibly the 2 worst goals that I've seen in the history of Premier League football.
You're gonna have to start captaining him now.
Never. He would never ever get anywhere near my team.
You've said that before about Martinez. You were like, he's never coming back in my squad, and I was howling to myself when he got points and Leno conceded, and then I looked at your team and you'd swapped them, you snake.
Yeah. Well, look, Martinez came back, didn't he, cap in hand? He apologised, and then decided that I would never ever have Leno or any Arsenal players back in my team ever again. So what could I do?
Well, I'll tell you what, it served you well this week. Martinez scoring 8 points. You had Chilwell scoring 5. Then, apart from Neto, who got that last-minute winner against Spurs, you only had Rashford returning for you. But nonetheless, 59 points. That puts you top of the game week 13 league, at least as far as Fantasy Weekly panelists go. In terms of the overall ranking, you still remain rock bottom, Ben, by 32 points. Let's talk about a man who's just extended his lead at the other end of the Fantasy Weekly panelist table with 58 points. Dave, how you doing, Dave? Thanks for having us on your channel.
You're very welcome. I'm doing amazing. I'm having a great season. I was for about... How many minutes was there in between the 2 games last night? About 15. For 15 minutes, I was in the top 100k. And then as soon as the game started, I went to 103.
Is that going on your CV?
It's already there. Updated it this morning. No, so it's been really, really good. I'm quite chuffed.
You're doing incredibly well, I've got to say. It's quite frustrating, particularly given how similar our teams were merely weeks ago. Now you have opened up. Well, I don't have the mental capacity to be able to calculate. It's 78 points. I've done it.
It's a lot.
78 points. It's a huge amount given, we were laughing and joking about the similarity of our teams and our overall ranks.
Yeah.
What can change, Dave, in a couple of transfers, eh?
Yeah, and stupid decisions on your part. Holly, how are you getting on?
Hang on 1 second. Let's come to Holly. She's a bit tired tonight, but she's still here. Holly, I want to firstly cover the fact that you're wearing a Christmas jumper that I don't think many of our viewers will be able to determine at the moment.
No, am I meant to try and stand up and line?
Quite like to see it.
Well, I can try, but it might go wrong. It does say Santa Baby. Is that in the zone?
We're getting it's the zone, all right. We're getting a lot of zone.
Yeah, baby.
I'm gonna get banned from YouTube. That's amazing.
Right.
Holly, not a great game week for you.
No.
Not a great game week. 43 points. Could have been better, but could have been worse, as I am the living proof.
I've always said that midweek game weeks never go too well for me. And, this was typical of it. But I was 1 point above the average, so I'm going to have to take that. So, couple of goals, couple of assists, no clean sheets. But I'm excited for what's coming up soon. So I've got 2 free transfers for this week, wildcard game week 16, and then blanks and doubles. So I think my time of the season is coming very soon.
It's tasty, and we're going to get into that quite shortly. But we've got a few questions already in the chat. Thank you very much. Keep those questions coming, guys. As I say, we will try to do our best to get to them. People are already looking ahead to game week 18. There's a question that's come from, I'm so sorry, there's no way that I'm going to pronounce your name here correctly.
It's
Kajetil Havatum.
I bet it's the K is silent for sure. It's Jetil Vatum.
Oh, you reckon? This is from Dave, the expert of name pronunciation. Do let us know. Maybe spell it out phonetically in the chat, but I apologise. Hopefully you'll know who I'm referring to here. He says, how many players do we reasonably need to avoid using the free hit in game week 18? And Dave, I want to come to you on this one first. People looking ahead, sensibly as they should, is free hit a game week that you're eyeing up? And if so, if not, how many players are you going to be preparing for to ensure that you don't need to use it?
I think that you should count how many players you have in for the blank, count how many players you have in for the doubles, and then use your free hit on whatever one has the least amount. I don't think you're going to be able to get through it unscathed unless you do use your free hit, and it's going to be either or. So if your team is more set up for the blank game week, you might have a couple Spurs players in there, you might have more Man City, although it's not 100% what's happening with Man City. I've been checking Ben Crellin's Twitter every day and he's not certain, so we'll have to keep looking at that. But if Man City fall towards a double blank, then maybe that might be a good idea to use your free hit then, so we can triple up on those guys, etc., etc. So as soon as we find out what the setup is outright 100% confirmed and put onto FPL, then just count your guys and see which one is easiest for you to sort out without the free hit, and then just do the opposite. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do right now, I think.
Okay.
But it's really difficult because I think I've got the exact same amount for and against for both sides, both blank and double.
Holly, there are quite a lot of teams participating. Though it is a blank game week, there are only 5 fixtures according to the Premier League website at the moment. Of course, that there are variables there. But at the moment, the likes of Everton, Man City, Brighton, Villa, Spurs, teams that a lot of people have some kind of vested interest in are taking part. This isn't one of those blank game weeks where it's just the Sheffield Uniteds and the Burnleys of the world. So on that basis, do you think it is possible to field a relatively decent team for game week 18?
Yeah, it's possible. I guess the issue at the moment, which suits me as someone that's still got all of their chips available, is the fact that there isn't any teams that have got a fixture in game week 18 and then a double in game week 19 as things stand. And game week 19 is probably going to be the juiciest double game week that we've ever had since the chips were launched, because you're at a stage in the season where there's lots still to play for. It's not a congested time, so you should be able to reap the rewards in that double game week. So for me, that's why I think you kind of need to attack the double, and to attack the double you kind of then need to think about free hitting in game week 18 so that you can attack that double. So that's my thoughts on it. And yeah, you probably could get away with maybe playing 7 or 8 players in the blank game week 18, but then that's not going to give you that many options for double game week 19, which looks prime for the bench boost. So that's why I think free hit 18, bench boost 19 is going to be the optimal strategy. And you can put together a nice free hit team for 18, because like we said, we've got a good decent fixture for City, you've got the Spurs boys in there, so it's not like you're choosing just the dross, and you can really try and load up on those players.
Thanks, Holly. As someone who has made a few folly transfers already this season ahead of blank game weeks for certain teams, I can confirm that planning for blank fixtures and making sure you've got 11 players playing is not always the wisest method to go down, as Matt Ryan will confirm for me. Ben, you are a man of differentials this season. It served you well this week, hasn't necessarily served you well in previous weeks. But when it comes to chip usage, are you going to extend this cavalier approach to FPL, or will you be going with the pack?
No, I will be busting them out in January without question. Similar to what Holly was saying, the difficulty that you will have or I feel I'll have coming at this congested period, is trying to plan that team. If you're going to bench boost in 19, trying to create a squad of 11 plus players who are actually going to be available without taking any hits along the way, depending on obviously where your squad sits at this moment in time. So that'll be something that I'll be, I'll have a keen eye on over the period. It's going to be difficult, but I will manage it in whichever way possible. I will even bust my wild card out during that period if, if I feel as if it's going to be more beneficial or to maximise returns as opposed to maybe a chip. So that's still an option that I use. I'm not afraid to do that in any way, shape or form.
Not afraid to burn those McCain oven fries. I like it. Okay. Actually, there's a great comment in the chat from Bryce Sutcliffe, who says, "You are all presuming that people have their free hit still." That's a good point. Of course, not all of our listeners will do, although ones that follow our advice hopefully should.
Who used their free hit already? That'd be mental.
I'm interested to know when one might have done that, actually.
I'll tell you when, because I've just had a question today. I'll not name the person, but they used the free hit around the Newcastle and
was it you,
Aston Villa postponement. Now I'm all intact, my good friend. And he had 5 players. Had 5 players missing, 3 Villa, 2 Newcastle.
Okay. Okay. Well, free go on the bench. One transfer. I mean, all of a sudden you've only got one. Sam's one in the starting lineup. So I mean,
speak to him.
Hey, you know what? I'll take it up with him in a separate conversation. Now's not the time or the place.
Send me the link to this, and I'll forward over the pod. And
please do. Please do. Tell him to slide into my DMs. I've got a question from Kenneth Andre Sorensen. I feel like quite a lot of Scandinavian listeners, viewers in the house tonight. Maybe that's just my assumption based on their names. But Kenneth Andre Sorensen says, do Mahrez and Pulisic to Son and Zaha for a -4? So this is interesting. People are looking to take hits to bring in the likes of Son and Zaha. I actually took a hit to get rid of Son last week, incredibly wisely. But the players that he's focusing on to make this transfer are Mahrez, who, of course, has been in relatively decent form, and Pulisic, who's just returning to the Chelsea side. And frankly, I thought against Wolves was one of the men of the match. So personally, I'm not so sure about this, particularly given that I'm rather cynical about hits at the moment. Let's come to Holly. Would you be doing this -4 given the current state of affairs, Holly? Mahrez and Pulisic out, Son and Zaha in?
Well, I can see returns for Mahrez and Pulisic this week. Chelsea have got like a massive break between fixtures. Well, 6 days, which is a long time for them, Tuesday to Monday. So I feel like Pulisic can play in the next game, and he did look very good against Wolves. Then you've also week, so you'd expect him to start at the weekend, although he's not scored away from home this season. So I feel like maybe Mahrez could be a good make weight to get in Son. I do think anyone without Spurs players should be worried now that Spurs have got their toughest fixtures out of the way, because they're just chipping in with those points, Son and Kane, all the time, and it's painful to have to go without them. But I don't think selling Pulisic when he's got good fixtures and he's showing that he can get returns, even though he hasn't already, would be the right move to make in order to get Son in.
Ben, do you agree with that prognosis? Can we depend on the fitness of Pulisic, who has, let's face it, been rather temperamental when it comes to injuries?
Tinfoil knees, man.
Can we depend on him? No. Would I expect him to start every game over this period? No. Lampard does have options. He's already expressed concerns with regards to fatigue on the back of 2 straight losses. You've got Ziyech and Hudson-Odoi, who are both back in training today, with Chelsea playing on Monday. That gives them a realistic chance of being included in the matchday squad. Havertz, Werner, you've got Abraham, Giroud. There's plenty of options. Mason Mount. I can see sort of heavy rotation in that attack over this coming period. And for me, I'm very averse to taking any kind of hits around this period of time. I think transfers should be prioritised in terms of how essential they are because we're going to be losing players through injury. You're going to be losing suspension. You've also got the risk of COVID still hanging over clubs and squads and managers. So, there are so many external influencing factors. For me, unless, you're forced down a particular route, then don't burn a transfer for the sake of it. And particularly don't take a hit.
Yeah, I mean, what chump would be taking a hit at this time of the season? Thanks for that, Ben. Dave, we had a question from Rajan Thandils earlier that says Grealish a good option. Again, brilliantly pronounced, I'm sure.
Love it.
Who said Grealish a good option? And it brings another aspect into this question, doesn't it? Because of course it doesn't need to be Mahrez and Pulisic to Son and Zaha. It could potentially be Son and Grealish if you don't own Grealish as well. So with Grealish in the mix too, I mean, firstly, would you take the initial hit? My feeling is that you wouldn't. You've been pretty conservative this season. And secondly, if you don't have Grealish, does he take priority over the likes of Zaha?
It really, really depends on where your overall rank is. I think if you're at a point where you're still in with a good shout of keeping with the pack, then Grealish is really high owned, especially in the top 100,000. So I think he might be a good shout. However, I'm with Ben, and hits shouldn't be taken right now. The only hits that I've taken 2, and they've both been to bring in captains. So for me, I probably wouldn't take the hit in the first place. Grealish is due a haul. If you go and look at his fixture history, he does 2 rubbish games and then 1 banging 20-plus point game, and he's done it all season. It's very strange. But yeah, so he's due a haul. I like Grealish as a player. If you watch the games, you're never going to get rid of him, because if he gets even 1 return, he's on all bonus. He's so consistent. He's on everything. The only problem with Grealish is that he is high owned, so you're not really going to get anywhere with him. If you're wanting to jump the ranks, then it might be better to go with someone a bit more differential, and then hope to hell that Grealish doesn't perform. And to be honest, Grealish has not been looking as good without Barkley, which is something that I think a lot of people have already suggested, that Barkley kind of lets Grealish roam a little bit more, give him a little bit more of an option in the box, because Watkins is still learning. He's still small, he's still a wee guy, and he's still kind of underperforming, I think, a little bit. So yeah, I like Grealish, but depends on where your overall rank is.
I mean, my reading of it is that Grealish is a little less talismanic than he used to be, in that there are other very talented players in that Villa team now that perhaps weren't there last season, or at least weren't performing last season. So maybe his impact. I mean, I remember, as a Grealish owner, seeing Villa returns and being frustrated that Grealish isn't involved. And it used to be the case that whenever Villa scored, Grealish was almost certainly involved in some way. Not necessarily the case anymore, which is something to consider, although he'll certainly stay in my team for the time being. Let's come to a question from FPL Penguin, who says, question for all 4 of you. Who's going to get the most points this week versus Leicester, Son or Kane? It is the eternal, not internal. It is the eternal debate amongst FPL managers at the moment. Which one to captain? Which one's going to score more points? They seem to take it in turns to an extent. Ben, let's come to you first on this one. Son or Kane? You own Kane, you don't own Son, so you'll be hoping for Kane, I assume.
Very much so. Blanked against Liverpool, slightly disappointed. Should have had returns, didn't, so we'll be looking to make amends. Tottenham wanting to bounce back. You talked about talisman with Grealish. Well, I still see Kane as being Tottenham's talisman, and Son will always be my number 2. While those 2 players are starting in that Tottenham team. So Sir Harry all the way for me.
Sir Harry, okay. Not yet, but you never know. It's got to be soon, right? Knighthood for Harry incoming, assuming that he doesn't get into any scandals, which, let's face it, for a footballer is pretty difficult. Holly, what are your thoughts on this? You, if I'm not mistaken, own none of these players. Presumably, you have hinted in previous episodes about trying to move on to at least one of them. Will you be accelerating those plans after the performance against Liverpool?
No, I'm not going to be bringing one of them in this week, but I do know that this Spurs v Leicester fixture tends to have goals in it, particularly for Harry Kane. 10 Premier League games against Leicester, 14 goals, 1 assist.
Whoa, that's big.
Yeah.
Okay,
I know you
so
love a
potential
stat.
captain, but I do love a stat. You know me well. Potential captaincy shout. Then I think if you're a Kane owner, you've got to be
Yeah,
thinking about giving him
absolutely.
the armband. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
Ben won't be because he's loyal to Marcus Rashford. But most logical thinking FPL managers might consider Kane as an option here. It's interesting, isn't it, with Kane, because I captained him in the game week before last, where he scored against Crystal Palace. And many people didn't want Kane in their sides because of the fact that they didn't see him as a viable captaincy option. But all of a sudden, he's being considered again for this patch of what many people consider to be difficult fixtures. Dave, what are your thoughts here? I can't remember. I think you own both Kane and Son, don't you?
Yeah, I missed both of those trains where everyone, or both of those stops where everyone was getting off the Kane and Son train. First, when their fixtures turned, and then next when the other premium options were looking better. And as such, I've had to kind of swap between two of the three midfield options of Bruno, KDB, and Salah. However, I think my problem with the captain debate on Spurs assets is simply that he wasn't an option when the others were all banging. Do you remember that? I think it was literally the game week before where everyone got a goal and an assist. And so therefore, no one was thinking about Kane. It was all Bruno or whatever. And then, Bruno and KDB both blank in a game week, and we're suddenly thinking, oh, you know what? Kane might be an option now. It's just, I think the simple, consistent fact is that Salah doesn't stop performing well. So you just captain Salah now. I think the problem with me is that I'm trying really hard to be simplistic with my captaincy options and just pick the best player on the night. I don't really want to try and get too into it, like meta with it. I tried today and I had a wee look at like who the worst defense was, if the defense is having to actually work hard or if they're hardly working, Leicester versus Crystal Palace versus Southampton and what we're going to be doing. Bruno's playing Leeds and Leeds have really bad XGC and all the rest of it. But I think the best thing to do is just to look at who the best captaincy option is, regardless of who they're playing. And I think Salah's the most consistent, and then Son, and then Kane. KDB is in an inconsistent team who he needs finishers. Bruno's the exact same thing. So yeah, I think it's definitely an option for Salah or Kane, regardless of who you've got, and just stick with that.
Can we just take a moment to acknowledge how fortunate Salah has been, though? I mean, that goal that he scored against Spurs is the ultimate I don't own Salah at the moment goal. It could not have been more Salah-esque.
He shouldn't have scored.
He's turned into the new Bruno, and I can only suspect that it's because I got rid of him. That's my only theory on this.
If it makes you feel any better, I did transfer him out last week for Bruno because I was worried about Bruno's captaincy ownership, and I figure if I'm going to own two of the three big midfields, I want KDB and Bruno this week. And ship Salah out and lost 6 points and 0.1 million.
Well, you know what? We all make mistakes. It is an exciting captaincy debate, actually, this week. We will get to that, viewers/listeners, at the end of the pod. Let's move on to defenders now. Not a great game week in game week 13 for the old clean sheet. Spurs failing to get one after a while. Man City, of course, conceding to West Brom. Man United conceded 2 against Sheffield United. These premium defences that we have started to some extent to depend upon have shown that actually they are also vulnerable. Chelsea as well, notably conceding 2 against Wolves, who I think prior to that game hadn't scored in something like 240 minutes or something like that. So, all in all, it was a tough, torrid time for anyone who had invested in defence. And it brings up this question again, a question that's been asked sporadically throughout the season. Is it just worth us investing in budget defenders, taking the clean sheets when they come, but hoping for those attacking returns instead? We think of these value 4.5s. Taylor, of course, kept a clean sheet. Lamptey kept a clean sheet. It was actually a better week this week for the 4.5s. Villa, of course, as well. We also have a question in the chat from Anand, who says, is it worth getting in Castagna as well? Interesting to be looking at Spurs at this point in time. Leicester at this point in time. But again, I guess he would be considered budget compared to some of the more premium options that people are discussing at the moment. So let's get into defence a little bit. We'll come back to you actually, Dave, on this one. I mean, it's an awkward time to be reshuffling our team structure, but if you were given a wild card, do you think you would approach it with the 4.5 defenders in mind?
Yeah, I've actually taken steps to take money out of my defence. The only person that I have that is considered expensive is James, and even then I got him at 5 million. The reason is that I need as much money as I can up front because Salah, Kevin, De Bruyne, Bruno, Son, Kane, they cost a pretty penny, and I can't afford to get anyone much better than that. And just on the Castagna point, like, I don't think I would get him because he's 5.7 million. That's too much. It's too much in defence. I don't even know if he's actually out of the woods. Ben, do you have any update on the Leicester fullback?
Yeah, it has been involved in training. Only just missed out midweek. It's going to be a question now over the next 24 hours whether he starts this weekend or not. So he definitely will be in the matchday squad, barring a recurrence or a setback, because that has already delayed his return to the Leicester matchday squad. So that, Rodgers will be careful. However, given the results that Leicester have had, I've just got a feeling that he might just throw him back in there. I mean, put him in on the right-hand side. Obviously, we've seen Albrighton play out there in recent times, and I just think, like I say, I think Castagna may start this weekend.
Right, okay, but obviously if he's being managed, then he probably isn't going to play as many games as we'd want him to for 5.7 million just yet. We would need to probably wait.
But yeah, I mean, it's a risk. It's most definitely a risk because Rodgers does have other options in there. He can switch Justin across. He can play Albrighton in there. So there's no need to take any risks with anybody, particularly one that's coming off the back of a hamstring injury, which another recurrence could put him out months.
Fair play. Holly, do you think that Leicester's defence is worth going to at all? Like, Everton doesn't seem to be scoring very, very much. They seem to kind of have lost a bit of form, but they still scored 2 against Leicester.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, I've got James just doing in my squad, and I could have sold him this week to improve my defence, but I chose to keep him because I may still want him on wildcard. And, I guess there are options there, so he could become a rotation risk soon. But I do feel like when you're looking for defenders at the moment, you need to look for defenders that have got attacking threat. And if they're cheap and they're fullbacks, then, they're worth a bit of a punt because, attacking returns is really going to help you when, clean sheets are hard to come by.
Yeah. Who have you got in mind then? So we'll just throw the easy one out there. Kufal is the one that has been shouted about the most this week, although I've had him for quite a while, and it's the only assist he's had in ages.
Yeah, exactly. Unbelievable that people talking about Kufal all of a sudden.
It was a really good assist, and he had been attacking very much that whole game. Like, West Ham were all down the right-hand side there. It's probably because Cresswell was a little bit of a niggle going into that game. But Holly, is there anyone else that you've been eyeing up?
Well, I wanted to bring in Lamptey this week, but he's got a knock. So I've actually brought in Lewis Dunk, who I think he had 4 shots last week. So
wow,
it's like I'm making luxury well, Sheffield United at home, and it's like I'm wildcarding in 2 weeks. So it's like luxury transfers just to improve the 11th man in my starting 11 effectively.
That's so 2019. Such a 2019.
But like the likes of like your Southampton defenders, Burnley, the Chelsea fullbacks, the West Ham fullbacks, they're all like in contention on wildcard as well.
Other than Masuaku, to be fair.
Yeah, let's not talk about Masuaku.
James's favourite.
What's that Burnley defender that you brought in last week, James?
Done. The conversation done.
Oh man, you've been so unlucky. Like the last 3 weeks since your transfers have really kind of kicked into high gear.
I think to an extent, you can be unlucky in singular game weeks. I think if you're unlucky 3 game weeks in a row, you've only got yourself to blame, really. So I can't be too hard done by. Let's move on to a couple more questions we got from the chat. I'm aware of time. We're going to finish this listeners, viewers, in about 12 minutes in theory. So I still want to talk about captains. Let's talk about this question here. It's for you, Ben, actually. It comes from Dean Stanford. It says, is Ben the cause of Rashford's form last week? Sometimes a player needs his manager to give him a public shaming. You've been very public about your anger towards Rashford's form. Dean suggesting here that perhaps he listened and he's responded.
I mean, I did contact Marcus after last week's show. I apologise for being vocal publicly. We discussed it. We talked it out. I sent him over an edited version of the pod and some nice calming, some nice whale music to help him sleep and rest up before the game. And it's worth the treat and some scented candles for Christmas. So it's all down to me.
Love that. Ben can be bad cop and good cop all in the same night, and that's what we love
Same
about.
sentence.
Ben, another question. I'm just going to throw this in here now because it's from Liam Healy, who is a loyal listener and viewer of FPL Dave. By the way, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to Dave's channel, please do. He's a gent for having us on his channel. Liam Healy says, any news on Antonio? And that's for you again, Ben.
It should be there or thereabouts. But again, we talk about the risk historically with Antonio. No need to risk for Moyes to push him back in. We've seen Sebastian Haller's put decent back-to-back performances.
What a goal!
Excellent goal. I mean, he could have got his overhead kick as well. It was a decent save from Meslier against Leeds. So, look, I think it's his shirt, his place for this moment in time, and Moyes will be quite happy with that. We may see Antonio get in and around the matchday squad, but I wouldn't expect him to come straight back in, which is what Moyes done in the first place, and why Antonio suffered that setback.
Do you think that he's going to play Antonio out wide then, maybe, if Haller is going to stay in the game? Because obviously that's where he was playing before his big injury.
No, I think I still, Antonio is first choice, particularly down the middle. Moyes said he prefers him down there. He offers something completely different. But, in terms of squad management, in terms of looking after his players, and, Haller deserves to be in that starting 11. And Moyes has got to repay his faith. The fact that he's sat on the bench makes it the all season. And he's got a little bit of making up to do, in my opinion, from dropping Haller and bringing Antonio back in. I think that was a little bit rough on him. But once Antonio's back up to speed fully, then Haller's out.
Live update. FPL Dave is going to be staying on after this stream to continue to go through transfer options. So if you want to stick around, please do. I have to go. I've got plans this evening. Yada. I know.
You guys are all welcome to stay on.
Dave will be sticking around. Dave's used to doing live streams, just talking to avatars that aren't responding to him. I think that's kind of what he prefers.
Basically, this podcast.
Okay, we've got another question from. You've got to start asking questions, man, because I cannot pronounce your name. I'm going to try it again. Chetil. How's that?
That was
Chetil.
good. That sounded decent.
Yeah. Chetil Haverton.
Very Scottish.
I've probably ruined it with the second name there. He says, my number one mistake this season has been owning Mane over Salah from game week 1. I'm still on Mane, he says. It's game week 14, man. All the promise, none of the points. Will he ever score again? Now, this is going to be very, very quick because I want to get on to captains. But, Holly, let's come to you in a few words. Is it worth staying on Mane, or is it time to bite the bullet and move on to Salah?
Just get Salah.
It's so easy. It's such an easy thing. The only person who's going to say not to do that is the person that actually owns Mane and has other fires. Like it's
some fantastic underlying stats though, and I have a sucker for underlying
in the
stats.
bin, mate. Honestly.
So I mean, I do have this theory that perhaps when you see a player scoring as fortuitously as Salah is at the moment, and you see another player like Mane who has all the underlying stats, has the chances but isn't scoring, it does feel somewhat perverse to move away from that unfortunate player, because surely you feel the universe will rectify the balance. But as we all know, that's not how the universe works, unfortunately. If it did, I'd be much richer. So we have to accept the fact that sometimes some people are just luckier than others. Salah is on penalties. I think that's going to give him the edge this season. It's my view. All right, guys, time to get into captains before we finish this podcast. Game week 14, we've already hinted at the fact that it's going to be a relatively, I think, combative captaincy discussion. Let's hope so anyway. We already know who Ben is going for. He's going for Rashford, but let's hear your vice captain, Ben.
Vice captain, and it's a tough one because I think Danny Ings, I'm not sold on whether he'll start or not. Timo Werner is another one. That's
Danny Ings against Man City.
Whoa. Is it my captaincy pick or is it yours? Is it? That's what I thought, right?
Continue.
One can, Dan. He's had half a can of Stella or whatever it is.
Mate, I tell you what, I've got a pile here. You forgot I had the Christmas party earlier.
How was it?
Right. Vice captain. Jesus Christ, man, vice captain. What's happening?
Right.
Yeah,
ultimately we don't care because for the first time in ages, Rashford is actually a pretty decent captaincy pick.
It would be Harry Kane.
Harry Kane
would be my vice.
Okay, yeah.
Against his former club.
But fair enough. I like it. Okay, Harry Kane with the VC, but Rashford will get the captain's pick. And again, you must be feeling pretty confident about this. Against Leeds, we know they're a leaky team. Rashford, maybe he's finding a patch of form. It could all be coming up dinnery.
Can I just say, by having Rashford as me set and forget, there's no stress. When he blanks, I'm not bothered. When he scores, I get the upside. I might do this year on year. Different player, of course, but I might just have a set and forget captain for the season.
Maybe you pick someone better next year. That might be good.
It's a dream. Well, we will see at the end of the season. Okay, my friend.
Okay. Ideal.
He's gonna pick the most philanthropic player.
Oh, wow.
In the league, whoever that may be.
I hope he picks Martinez.
Well, but yeah.
Jordan Henderson.
What happens if someone like Ben Godfrey starts giving loads of money to charity? Ben's going to be fucked. Okay, Dave, let's come to you for your captaincy option for game week 14, please.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get back on Salah and get rid of Fernandes. It was kind of the plan all along. I'm probably going to do that. And if I'm doing that, then I'll probably captain Salah, just because I know he's going to be starting. If not him, then yeah, same as Ben, probably Kane. Just stick it on him. Leicester look shocking.
Okay. All right, so Kane or Salah. I have to say I don't like that Salah pick away at Crystal Palace. I can see there being some kind of surprise there, but we'll see. I don't own him, so it's probably...
You've said that every week.
Yeah, exactly. And look what happens. Holly, you are probably of all the panellists, when it comes to captaincy, the one that I'm going to trust the most, because I feel like we have quite a lot of overlap now. Tell me, who are you captaining?
Well, I keep changing my mind. At the moment, I've got the armband on Bruno Fernandes, even though it's a home fixture and he's generally better away from home. But I can just see Leeds conceding a lot of chances. And I feel like Manchester United are starting to get in their groove now. They've scored 3 goals in 3 of their last 4 games. They were enjoying a lot of joy on the counter-attack against Sheffield United midweek, so I'm expecting a similar performance, and hopefully, Bruno can chip in with one of his lucky penalties or lucky things that he does. Lucky Bruno. He needs to pull his finger out to get these 300 points, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he was a bit unlucky last weekend, so you feel as though his luck tank must be spewing over now, and he's going to blow his load all over game week 14.
Speaking of blowing your load, I love your background, Ben.
Who is that?
Sam.
That's Big Sam,
Oh,
isn't
it's
it?
Big Sam. Well, I tell
Sam
you what.
Allardyce.
Big Sam.
I mean, there could be a whole separate podcast about Bilic being fired just after that amazing 1-1 draw with Man City, but alas, great to see Big Sam back in the league. We have a very quick question from Kenneth, who says, is it a hope with Pope? I'm only really reading it out because it rhymes. Or should I stick with Johnston? I mean, my view on this very quickly is that Pope is great. Burnley, great underlying stats defensively, but he is quite expensive. But definitely get rid of Johnston. What's wrong with Martinez? When did Martinez, drop out of fashion?
Yeah,
Any disagreements there, panel?
You're the one who transferred him out.
Hey, I know. But you know what? Speaking as someone who's been through it, I learned my lesson.
So bad, man. He's
I
got
think it's
what,
all the more
19
compelling.
points. 19 points in 2 game weeks.
Right. Let's not dwell on how many points Martin has scored, please.
Yeah.
Praveen says Salah captain game week 14 ideal. We've already been through that. Kenneth says, can I buy Dave Laugh as a phone tone? I'm pretty sure Dave will sell that to you at a competitive rate. It is time for us to go. Viewers, listeners, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to anyone who suggested a question. Apologies if we didn't get around to yours. I think we pretty much covered them all, however.
Yeah, man.
And if you're listening to this retrospectively, why? It is surely by now game
Why?
week 14. Get a life. We will be back next week, however, for a post-game week 14, pre-game week 15, but more importantly, a Christmas special. We're going to find out the favourite Christmas songs of Ben Dinnery. If that's not worth tuning in for, I don't know what is.
It's going to be the
Until
darkness, I can just tell.
It'll be Little Drummer Boy.
Jesus.
Well, we'll have to find out. And on that cliffhanger, Dave will be sticking around, don't forget.
Yes.
I don't know what the plans of Holly and Ben are. I'm going to have to shoot off. But panel, it's been a pleasure. Viewers, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Right, so we'll start soon. Are you guys all shooting off then? Holly, do you want to stick around?
No, I'm going to go for a nap.
Right, okay. You deserve it. You deserve
Bye.
it. Right, see you later.
Have fun.
Bye. All right, that was great. Always a laugh. Always a laugh. Tips, we're not going anywhere. I'm going to be doing a solo stream for now. While I've got you all here. Obviously, the guys are trying to answer as many questions as possible, but we do have to kind of go fast because we've only got a short period of time. However, I have another 45 minutes or so to just chill out with you guys. So, if you have team questions, double blank questions, captaincy issues, we can go through it all. Obviously, we went through a little bit there, but let's go through it in a bit more FPL Dave. You know, let's a little bit of a lecture. I'm gonna go to the toilet, and then I'm gonna answer all your questions in order. So get your questions in now, and I'll just go through them, and we'll go. And it doesn't matter if it's deep or it's a full rate my team. Don't everyone send in a rate my team. Okay, that's mental. But you know, try your best. Put your questions in now, and I'm gonna go through them all. Right. Back 2 seconds. Bum ba-dum bum bum ba-dum bum 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 bum. By the way, to the guy who was asking, who was it? The guy who was asking for my laugh as a ringtone, like just DM me, mate. I will record something amazing and I'll send you it. So don't you worry. We can make that happen. Tips, it's nice of you to drop in. Nice of you to drop by. Let me see. How are you? Feel I haven't spoken to you in a while. How's life treating you? Tips, life is treating me great. It's really difficult because a lot of people have been like, oh, you know what? This year has been one of the worst years. And me, an introvert who lives in this room, who spends a lot of money and time on his computer, it's been a really good year. I've been furloughed for about 8 months. 8 months. And I think day 2 or day 3, I bought all new parts for my computer, and then like I've paid it off already. You know, it's gone from the credit card, and I'm reaping the benefits now. So yeah, it's been really good for me. I've had a great year. That might be a little bit insensitive, so apologies, but I can only be honest. It's been really good. Dean Stamford, have one for me. I will have one for you, mate. And I'll have one for me. And I'll have one for you again. And then 2 for me. And we'll just keep doing that. Oh. Lovely. Right. Tips, how are you, by the way? Needs Son. He is so annoying not to own. Okay, so let's just go through this real quickly. For those of you who don't own Son, I'm assuming you own Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno, and Salah, right? Those are the trifecta. That's what everyone keeps talking about. Oh, I've got them. But it means that you can't physically own those 3 and Son and Kane, right? You have to either pick Son or Kane in that retrospect, or in that respect, or you need to get rid of both of them and you can maybe put a bit more money in your defense or something, right? I've not seen a single team that has all those players. The problem with that is that you are going to lose points somewhere. You're going to lose points somewhere. This week, I lost points to Salah. I transferred in Bruno. I was scared of his captaincy. I got in Bruno over Salah. Salah scored. Bruno didn't. I lost out on 4 points there, or 5 points. I have Son. I have Kane. So, you know, Kane and Son effectively was better than Salah and Grealish, or Salah and Zaha, or whoever it is that you guys have downgraded to. Not many of the budget midfielders actually did well this week, so it worked out in the end to have Son over those. It's not always going to be like that. Grealish can haul, Salah can haul. Son's not going to hit fucking 40-yard screamers every game, right? Eventually he's going to have to blank, and when that happens, you're in the money. It just feels annoying at the time. This is the season, guys. This is the season. We've all been talking about it. That, you know, next year's going to be the season where we have everyone and we need everyone, but we can't have everyone. I don't even know if that made sense. We can't have everyone, but we want everyone. And that's just the way it's going to be. You need to pick your 4 and just stick with them. If you have Son, Kevin De Bruyne, Salah, and Kane, just that's you. That's you, mate. Because of those 4, you can captain a number of them, a plethora of them, for the rest of eternity, and you'll be fine, right? If you keep transferring in and out and doing what I've done, where I wanted Salah, but then I didn't want him, but now I want him back, you're just wasting transfers and potentially missing out. It's easier, much better, to just chill out and deal with the other parts of your team. Especially now, we have a blank coming, a big ass blank, and then a big ass double. We don't have time to be transferring in Son all the time after he scores, or Salah after he scores, or whatever the fuck, right? We want a simple plethora of our premiums, and then only add the little guys here and there, and start building our double game week team, or our free hit team double, so therefore we're building on our blanks, whatever is easiest for your team, and we can go through that in a bit if someone asks the question. But for me, and just for anyone who's here and doesn't know who I am or what I'm about or whatever, right? I am 103,000 overall rank. My highest rank was 4,500 or something. Like, I know what I'm talking about. It's and also the main reason why I know what I'm talking about is because I did an 8 simple rules of a better overall rank, and we had Let's Talk in, we had Late Riser in, we had Flapjack in, we had loads of amazing managers, FPL Matthew, Holly Shand, etc., and they all said the exact same thing: keep it simple. Don't transfer in random players, random upsides. The only person who really said that was Late Riser. Or the only person who was against that was Late Riser. But we're not all as good as him. We don't follow it as closely as him. He's very, very good at it. And he can fall under the wrong side of variance as well. Like, he's not doing too great this year. I think he's in the 3 millionth if you listen to the FPL Wire, which you should. So yeah, it's much easier to just be simple. So that's what we're going to do. So don't worry about not having Son, because you have the other 3. And Kane, potentially. You know? You just need to make sure you're getting everyone else right, and the points will come in. And I can show you guys my team and show you what I mean. But yeah, that's long enough. Right, let me go back. How old are you? I am... You guys are not going to believe me. I could get my ID, but I am 28 in a month and a half or 2 months. I'm 28. I don't look it. It's a constant reminder whenever I go to any bar that I don't look it because I get ID'd everywhere I go. But yeah, that's the... I'm 28. Who is my captain for this week? Interesting. I don't know if I'm getting Salah back or not. I want him, but Leeds does look like the best captaincy option. Like Holly said just there in the Fantasy Weekly episode live stream, Man United are kind of getting their mojo back a little bit. They've scored 3 goals 3 times in the last 4 games. Bruno wasn't 100% this week. However, he did get a rest, so he came off at like 70 minutes or something. And we can fact check that. He did come off early, whereas Salah played the whole game. Salah also has a less of a rest, and he's also playing a harder team defensively. I did the math a little bit. Crystal Palace actually have been working a lot harder in defence than Leeds, than Southampton and Leicester. And I can go back to my tweet, because I did tweet it out. It was really long and long-winded. I usually tweet as I'm researching, so it was a little bit disjointed. But basically, Crystal Palace has been doing more clearances, more crosses conceded than dealt with those crosses, more saves, more blocks, and all the rest of it. So, and they faced more shots. So Crystal Palace know how to defend. They're defending much better than the other 3. So I don't know if Salah's 100%. However, Salah is the most in form of all the premiums. So you weigh it up with the most informed defence. Like, we all seen Guaita against Tottenham. That should have been 3-0. And he kept it extremely respectable in that first half. Some wonder saves, man of the match, amazing. So Crystal Palace have the best goalkeeper by far. I know McCarthy's been doing well FPL-wise, but don't let it fool you. I don't know if you guys seen his tweet where he was like, lovely performance, glad I could watch, because he literally did nothing because the other teams didn't attack. And that's the point I was making in my tweet, was that the other teams, like Southampton, hasn't had to really defend because they've been playing teams that just don't attack. They played Brighton, Sheffield United, and Arsenal. Like, they don't shoot. They don't shoot. The shots faced on the last 3 game weeks, Southampton have taken the 6th least amount at 39 shots in the last 3 games. That's really, really low. Whereas Leeds have taken a lot, and I mean a lot. I think they're 19th or 20th. So the kind of stats don't lie. Bruno's probably the best captaincy option relative to the defense, but maybe not relative to the player. So, and I have to pick between getting Salah back and keeping Bruno. So hopefully, for my sake, we actually see or hear of Salah potentially not starting maybe before the game week starts, because they are the first team, and I'm really hoping he doesn't start so I can just save a transfer. But would you rather own Salah in the next 5 or Bruno? It's definitely Salah. Like 1,000,000% Salah based on fixtures, form, and defense that he's playing against, all the rest of it. So, yeah. I'm spending longer on questions than I want to. I hope this is okay. Let me know if this is okay. Kenneth says, I'm considering Pulisic and Mahrez to Son and Zaha for -4. Good choice to save those transfers next game week. Pulisic has got a decent fixture. Is he playing West Ham? I'm sure he's playing West Ham. Yeah, West Ham's defense isn't amazing. So I like that. Mahrez potentially starting or not starting. We're going to be there all year, to be honest. So if you've got him, you've already made that decision and that you can take the risk. Son and Zaha, I honestly wouldn't take a hit. Because like I said, if you have... Oh, you know what? Pulisic and Mahrez, that means you probably only have Kevin De Bruyne and Bruno. You probably don't even have Kane. In which case, I think I'd rather Son. But I would never take a hit for that. So, you've made your bed. Just wait a week. Next question from Khetil Vatam. I think I nailed that. Best second goalkeeper for game week 19. Have Pope now. Wildcard game week 16. Maybe free hit in 18. Best second goalkeeper. If you're going to bench boost, then a second goalkeeper is necessary. If you're not bench boosting, then he's not necessary. So let's pretend that he is necessary. We can absolutely look at that. And I will go to the main screen, which is this button. Yes, back in the game. And I'll link this for anyone who needs it linked. Where are you? I hope that works. If not, just copy and paste it into the thing. So this is the Premier League fixtures that I use that's free. I also have access to the Fantasy Football Hub and Fantasy Football Scout one, but I'm not allowed to show that on stream. So let's just go to game week 18 or 19 or whatever, and let's find out what the best team is for fixtures. So that's game week 18, so let's go up to 19. There we go. Right, so the best team is West Ham, by far, so far. Then you've got Leeds, who have got a double. I'm assuming it's doubles you're looking at. So West Ham, then Leeds, then Liverpool, then Southampton, and so on and so forth. So I think if it was me, I would probably, and I had enough money was no option, then West Ham for sure. Because Burnley and West Brom don't really attack, neither did Burnley. That seems best. However, oh, nope, this one, bam. West Ham is a lot cheaper to get in your defence than your goalkeeper. So you could get Kufal, Balbuena, or Ogbonna, whoever's playing in that position, a lot cheaper than Fabianski. So for me, I think I would rather Kufal or whoever's playing. Even Cresswell would probably be better than Fabianski just because of his attacking output. So in that respect, if you could double up, and then West Ham's a decent shout. If you're not going to go for that, like I'm not, then I think you might as well. You could just get Johnston or someone cheap, and just put them in there and hope for the best. Especially if you're going to be wild carding. Even though I meant bench boost, I'm probably just going to ignore the goalkeeper because I've already used my wild card. And I only have so many transfers. I need to get Salah back at some point, so that's one. I think I've got 6 transfers left because I've decided I'm gonna allow myself a hit. So 6 transfers left. I'm getting Salah back for Bruno, so that's 1. I have 0.5 million to play with, which is not a lot at all. Which means I might have to downgrade Kane for a week or something like that, which is really painful. So you know what? It might end up that, I don't know, I might just ignore the doubles, to be honest, or at least ignore the blanks. We'll figure it out. Link for that table. Sorry, mate. I will link it right this second. Bam. Right, next question. Let's go up. First time viewer, just caught the last few minutes, was pretty good. Average at FPL. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, mate. It's always nice to hear. Always nice to hear. I think I've skipped someone. No, I didn't. Oh, I'm amazing. FPL Tips says he's amazing. Awesome. A paid off debt is the best kind of debt. Should I captain Salah or Kevin De Bruyne? If you think Aguero is starting, Kevin De Bruyne. If you think he won't start, still maybe Kevin De Bruyne. Salah's playing a really difficult defence. Like, KDB's playing... I know everyone thinks that Southampton is doing better, but I honestly think they've just been playing against really rubbish attackers, and they've been reaping the benefits. I don't think they have particularly good defence. I don't think they have a particularly good goalkeeper. I think they have a really good midfield, and I think they have got a really good informed team, but score a goal or two into them, I don't think it's more difficult than scoring into Leeds or whoever, especially for top 6 sides. Let's have a look at Southampton's performance against the top 6 sides, because that's what we really want. The last 3 game weeks they haven't been doing the best, or haven't faced the best teams. Now, before any Arsenal fans get to me, you know yourselves, you have been playing pretty shit. So they played Arsenal, conceded. Played Brighton, conceded. Before that, they faced Man United with that late goal. So they conceded 3. At the start of the season, they played Tottenham. They conceded 5. They conceded 3 against Chelsea. So that's 5 Tottenham, 3 Chelsea, 3 Man United. They don't seem particularly good at keeping clean sheets against big teams. So, and that was the game where Werner went nuts, wasn't it? In that Chelsea where he scored 2 goals and an assist. And I remember that because I transferred Werner out for Kane that same game week and was really upset when Werner scored all those points, only for me to cool down when Kane scored the exact same amount of points. 2 goals and assist was crazy. So yeah, Southampton versus top 6. Not the best. Top 5, let's say. We're taking Arsenal out. Don't care what you guys say. Are you using free hit or bench boost for the upcoming blank game week, double game week, or saving it for future use? Because I am in the same stage like you with overall rank. I don't know yet. I know that I'm not taking a lot of hits this season. I know that I'm not up for messing my team up too much for these. I also know that bench boost is usually lackluster. I've been playing enough to know that. And on top of everything else, it just seems a little bit too difficult to change your team up only to then change it again. Like, you might... The best thing about all these doubles game weeks at the end of the season is that you only have 2 seasons left or 2 games left to consider after you do all this. Like, say, game week 30, game week 31, like, I could use my wild card after that and relatively set myself up for the last 6 game weeks or so, right? This time, I'm doing it game week 19. I can't wild card game week 20. There's too much stuff happening in the future. I'll need that wild card later. So, I mess my team up for either the blank and then free hit the double, and then I get my messed up team back. Or do I mess up my team for the double and have to keep that team going forward? I don't really want 2 West Ham defenders going forward or a Leicester striker going forward or whatever, right? I want Son, Kane, Salah and De Bruyne. And that's all I want. So whoever that bests, whatever situation that bests, that's what I'm going for. So I think I'm going to free hit in the double and I'm going to do nothing in the blank. I'm just going to let my players blank and I'm going to take it. I think this is where my wild card set me up in game week 3 and I did myself a whole lot of favors in that wild card and kind of set me up for a decent season. This is the point where I need to pay for that. So I'm going to have to pay for my early wild card by losing a little bit of rank, maybe go from 100k to 200k in the next upcoming doubles, because I just can't see myself messing my team up. It's just too much effort only to have to kind of lose the team value that I've got on Son and Kane, etc., because my budget is spread very, very thin. Thank you for the question, Praveen. I appreciate that. It's Raw. What's happening, man? Thank you very much for showing up. Liam Healy, do you think I should do the transfers I said during the podcast? That was Son and Zaha. No, Son and Brewster for Wilson and Grealish, I think. I wouldn't do it this week. Grealish has a really good fixture this week and he's due a haul. With Brewster, you have to know that you're probably not going to be playing him. You're going to be playing your 5th midfielder, which you said was Souček, and he's not that bad, especially with the upcoming double. So that's fine with me, and I'd prefer Son over Grealish, regardless of how good they're playing right now in their fixtures. Son is just on another level this season. But I wouldn't take a hit for it. So I wouldn't do it this week. I would do it next week, if it was me personally. If I had McCarthy, would you switch to another keeper? No, definitely not. Definitely not. How many clean sheets has McCarthy had this season? 5 clean sheets out of 13. Is that right? That can't be right. That seems less than I thought it would be. McCarthy. Oh, it is 5. It is 5. How has he done so well? I guess save points? Yeah, lots of save points. Hello, Kitty. McCarthy... transfer him out for who? For Martinez only, right? That's the only... It's such a sideways move. Martinez has only scored 8 more points. It's not worth it, right? 8 points. I wouldn't save... I wouldn't give you 4 points for another 8 without the guarantee that the guy who scored the 8 is going to go on and do better as the game goes on. Because that's not the case, right? Aston Villa are watching... they had a good fixture run. They played some easy teams. Brighton, West Ham, Wolves, Burnley. He's got 21 points in those, which is decent. But after that, after the West Brom and Crystal Palace game, he plays Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, Everton, then Burnley, so I'd say that's decent. Then Southampton, which is decent. Then West Ham, which is... I'm not going to say West Ham's probably going to score against every team. And then Arsenal, I'm going to say they're decent. That's 5 and 3, so I'm going to say 3 clean sheets is a possible 5, maybe not. Brighton, I'm going to say that's easy. Then Leicester, so that's 6-4-ish. Or 6-3. It's not the best. Whereas McCarthy, let's look at their fixtures. They've got Man City, which is bad. Then Fulham, which is good. Then West Ham and Leicester, which is bad. Then they blank. Then they get Leicester, or Liverpool, sorry. Then Leicester, Leeds. No, not Leeds. Leeds, Arsenal. I don't know, actually. You know what? I might do it. I didn't realise that McCarthy's fixtures were so bad. No, I would only do it if I had nothing else to do and I had the easy money for a swap. I wouldn't take a hit. I definitely wouldn't jump on it for a hit, or if I had another fire. But if I had nothing else to do, then I'd prefer Martinez, which is why I've got him over thingy. Thank you all so much for your questions, by the way. This is going swimmingly. I appreciate everyone who's here, everyone who's hit like, everyone who's subscribed to the channel now, all the new people, all the old people. I haven't streamed in ages. It's really nice. I've kind of been taking a break. I was just getting burnt out with FPL stuff, to be honest. But it's really good to do this kind of thing every once in a while. So I appreciate y'all being here. So thank you very much. Let's get right back into the questions. I hope that link was working, by the way, because it doesn't seem like it's showing up. What to Google if it's not showing up? You are in time for the bourbon, mate. Oh, shit. That wasn't me being drunk, okay? This thing stuck to this and then fell off. I'm not pissed, I promise. Human Torch. Very cool. Very cool. Anyway, where were we? What's your rank? How's the season going? No, I've missed some. Taking a punt on Rashford. I like it. Are you Ben in disguise? You don't have to defend yourself against people criticizing your advice. I'm not following advice blind anyway. Good stream so far, and you do make sense when you talk. Thank you very much. I've been told the opposite many times. FPL tips. Great question. What's your rank? How's this season going? Let's have a look. So my rank is 103,000. So I think I'm just behind you, Tips. I think you're like 14 points ahead of me or something. So you must be about 60,000-ish. But I'm doing pretty well. I was in 2 million in Game Week 4 after my wildcard in Game Week 3. But since then, I have had pretty good Game Weeks. Very consistent, actually. So green arrow from Game Week 7 onwards. I shouldn't have got a green arrow in Game Week 12. Or was it Game Week 11? It was the one where Salah got an extra bonus point out of nowhere. So I had a red arrow, and then in the morning Salah got an extra bonus point, and it was a green arrow. I don't really know how that works. I don't think he deserved it. It was the dodgy penalty, potentially Game Week 12. But yeah, I'll take it. So it's been quite a journey. And I think the thing that I would say has been the biggest contributor to this is the transfers. The transfers have all been pretty much getting in the good players and not having to deal with any bad players. That's pretty much it. It's an easy thing to say, right? But what? Let me explain that. I don't look at it and see, oh, you know what? I would love Mahrez because he's doing so well. I've been looking at my team and going, who is really fucking annoying to own? Who do I not want? Who's been really shit? So let's look at and then just transferring them out. So let's look at that right now. So I had, for example, in Game Week 3, Jimenez. I brought him in for his good fixtures, and Traore in for his good fixtures, Alexander-Arnold in, etc., right? After a while, I just totally took Alexander-Arnold out, Game Week 8, for Kufal because he had good stats, and then just left him there. In game week 10, I really wanted De Bruyne, so I brought him and Diaz. And then after a while, game week 12, I was like, you know what, I really want Salah in, so I've got to take Diaz out. It's been the only time that I've said, you know what, he's too good. He's too good not to own. Has been captaincy option Salah, De Bruyne, right? That's basically what I've done. Or Fernandez. I've never ever transferred in someone who's looked good unless I'm going to captain them, so a premium player. All the other transfers that you can see that I've done are when I don't like a player. Jimenez is out because he's been playing rubbish. Traore out because he wasn't starting. De Bruyne because he was playing rubbish. I got him out and brought in Son. Werner because he was playing rubbish up until that point, and then since then, the only game week was game week 6 that he did well. But I brought in Kane and Son. That was it wasn't even for a hit. I'd saved the transfer. So Werner and De Bruyne out for Son and Kane, and that was a very good decision since game week 5 onwards. And then before that was a wild card. So I haven't really done anything mental. I haven't done anything that you guys wouldn't do. It's just I haven't thought to myself, oh, I really want that player, I'm going to take a hit to make that happen. I've been, for the first season in ages, I've been like, who do I not like in my team? Or who do I want to captain next week, and I'll make moves to get him. So taking a little bit from the risk-averse managers and a little bit from late riser and mashing them together, and you get a decent game. James Justin, keep or sell, says Praveen. Oh, let me see what Leicester's fixtures are like. Bam. Let's go back to this. Refresh. Leicester. Where are you, Leicester? Oh, wow. Leicester's way down here. They've got Tottenham, Man United, Crystal Palace, Newcastle. Then they've got a double. Holly said that she's going to keep Justin because of the double, and I think she's going to free hit here. So if you've got someone on your bench that can cover the next 2 game weeks, and then you could play him in Crystal Palace and Newcastle, then fine. But if you're finding out that, you know what, I have to keep Justin in my starting 11 because my bench is shit, then you fucked up, because your bench shouldn't be shit. But if it is, then I don't think I'd keep Justin. I think I'd downgrade to someone like Taylor, who's 4.4, and then you've got 0.6 to upgrade someone else, maybe an Anguissa to a Soucek for that double, or maybe a Kilman to a, who else would I get? Kufal or whatever, right? I would save the money that I've got with Justin, because realistically, Southampton and Chelsea, who's Leicester is playing in the double, Southampton are going to score. I can't see Southampton going to any team and not scoring. Ings is great. Shea Adams is in form. He's been showing the good numbers all season. A lot of players who lost the faith are annoyed at themselves now. I would have transferred him out as well, but it's just unlucky because Watkins was so easy to transfer in from from Shea Adams. It was just too easy, and a lot of people fell into it. But yeah, Southampton are going to score into Leicester. I almost guarantee it. And then Chelsea look really good. They look like they're scoring a lot. So I don't think Justin's going to be worth it in that double. The only thing is he's kind of attacking. But he's only had 1 attacking return in a long time, right? Let me have a look. Leicester, Justin. Justin, right, let's look at him. He has had 1 attacking return in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, in 11 games. Oh yeah, he's really attacking, so he is. Yeah, I wouldn't. I probably would have. I did get rid of him. I got rid of him ages ago. I think on my wild card maybe, because I was on game week 3 and I was like, I don't know when how long he's gonna stay in the team, and I don't really like Leicester's defense because sometimes they have to play Morgan and he is slower than a tree. So I got rid of him and I've never looked back. Like, he did well last game week, but so did bloody Lamptey. So yeah. Next question. I'm on my wild card, says Bree, and have gone the opposite of you. I've gone big at the back. Trent, Robbo, and James. Liverpool fixtures are just too good to miss. Okay, so that means that you have Son, Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno, or Salah. And maybe you've had to go for Rashford. And you've taken someone else out. Because Trent and Robertson are 3 million more than what I've paid for my defenders in that similar position, right? Because I've got James. So then let's take Kufal and Lamptey, 4.5. You spent 3 million more than that. So that means you've got to find 6 million somewhere from my team, which means you've had to downgrade Kane to Brewster or Salah to Souček. Nah, that's way too far. Souček, maybe not Souček, but definitely someone like Podence. I bet you've got Podence in your team. Podence. I don't know how to say people's names, but I know I wouldn't want them in my team over Salah. But yeah, no, it's a viable strategy, right? Liverpool's defense hasn't been as bad as we thought it would be with the injuries. They conceded to a great Son goal, but you could say that they were Tottenham were soaking up all the pressure. There was not really much pressure on Liverpool. Although Kane did have a few chances. There was a hit off the bar, etc., etc. So yeah. I wouldn't do it personally. I think there's too much money. The worst part about having lots of money in your defense is that eventually no one ever says to themselves, I have to have this player in defense. No one thinks to themselves, I'm going to captain that player that it plays for Liverpool that's in their defense, so therefore I have to just take a hit to get him in. No one's going to do that. It's always, I have to get Salah, I have to get Bruno, I have to get Kane, right? I have to get Son. And my problem is that the first time that happens, where you come to that crossroad in your team and you say, you know what, I don't have Kevin De Bruyne and I really need him. The first player you're going to take out is Trent, because you don't have anywhere else to get the money for. You're not going to lose another premium because you only have 3 premiums or whatever. So yeah, that's my problem with having an expensive defense, is that it's really just a question of for how long can you hold on to them. And if I'm going to eventually transfer them out because I want Kevin De Bruyne or I want blah blah blah, then is it worth even doing it now, even for 3 game weeks? So that's my problem with it. But I mean, there's millions of ways to play this game, man. So if you think that you're going to be able to do it, that is a long-term decision. If you don't think you're going to be able to do it for a long term, then might not be the best idea. That link didn't work, did it? I don't think it did. But yeah, just Google what's his name? Tim Bayer, Timbayer, and then fixtures, and it should come up because he's a wee belter. You should follow him on Twitter. Softcore says DCL and what 2 other strikers in Game Week 16? Antonio and in Game Week 16. What's so special about Game Week 16? Let's find out. Bam. See, Tim Bayer, belter of a guy. Game Week 16 is in 3 game weeks. And we'll put that down to 1. So Bamford, Kane, and who did you say? DCL. Who's DCL playing? Man City. Oh yeah. I would keep DCL because I've got so much money put into him. I guess if I was purely picking off of form and fixture, then yeah, Bamford, then Kane, then potentially Vardy or Ings. Yeah, Ings. I actually like Ings better that week. However, if it's long term and you're just looking for my top 3, then it would definitely be Bamford, and then Kane and DCL, which is hilariously who I have in my team. I have Bamford, I have Calvert-Lewin, I have Kane. I didn't get on the Bamford train as soon as I should have. I got Wilson in for that 12 point first, and I did some hokey pokey and then brought Bamford in eventually. But Bamford shoots like 50 times a game. Kane shoots once. They all both get 1 goal. DCL, for whatever reason, no matter who's behind him, he'll find an assist or a goal. And that's the kind of player you want for 7 million. Has blanked twice this season. Kane has blanked 3 times? 3 times? 1, 2. 3 times. And how many times has Bamford blanked? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 13. Yeah, that's who I would want. Definitely who I'd want. Game week 16 last week for first wild card. Oh, I gotcha. So, like, as in, you're not going to wild card until after that. So who would you just jump on for 1 week? I think Ings, probably. I really want Ings. If I could have a 4th attacker, it would be Ings. Nice one. Liam's doing it when he has game week 15. When he has 2 free transfers, that's good. I'm almost 40 and still need to show ID. It happens. It's unfortunate. Well summed up. Thank you very much. Am I in time for the bourbon? Always in time for the bourbon. Cheers, mate. Is it worth dropping Kevin De Bruyne for Rashford? Not on your life. He looked good. He was playing fucking Sheffield. He wasn't playing, like, Sheffield have looked so poor. They came up, they got promoted. They were like, we've got marauding centre-backs. Yes, we've got Dean Henderson, who's a belter. And, Lundstrom's going to come out of nowhere and score loads of goals for us. And no one's going to know how to defeat us because we're just overload the midfield with our centre-backs. And you won't be expecting that. And then after a year, they lost Dean. And everyone knows about their centre-back trick. So they just look like a promoted side now. They've totally lost it. They're not even starting Ramsdale, who they bought. Yeah, there's some things bad happening. I mean, it's weird that they're scoring as well. I've never seen them score 2 goals. But, yeah, they're just a shambles at the back. I just don't know what's going on. And no one does. And I'm assuming it's really frustrating for fans and, the players, the manager, the coaches for sure. They're pulling their hair out. What's going on? I think it's just a simple case of, like, all the teams know what you're going to do now. You're going to pull your centre-backs forward. So all we need to do is, instead of defending your full-backs that are never going to go anywhere, we're going to just defend your centre-backs. We're going to swamp the midfield. We're going to play 3 centre-mids instead of 2. We're going to pull... what did they do? So they had Pogba and Bruno, and they had Matic. So they brought Matic on, who is quite defensive, and they just sat him in the hole instead. And they just pulled him back every time. So as soon as Sheffield United get the ball, we'll pull Matic back. Unfortunately, Man United's defence isn't that great. But at least that was the tactic. The tactic was, we're going to just play more people in the midfield and dominate on the wing. That's why Rashford got a goal. 2 goals. That's why Bruno didn't get anything. Because Sheffield United packed the midfield and then try and play it through. If I know that and I know nothing about football, then surely Pep and... I was going to say Bilic there. He was the first person that came to mind, and I had to pause. I was like, nope, Big Sam. Big Sam. All of the managers know what they're doing, and have figured it out. And that's just a shame for Sheffield United. Anyway, Rashford for Kevin De Bruyne. Rashford is playing Leeds. Good for attack. Leicester. Good for attack. Wolves. Bad for attack now that they're back to back 5. Aston Villa, bad for attack. And then they blank, which is bad for attack. Kevin De Bruyne. Southampton, good for attack. Newcastle, good for attack. Everton, I'm good for, if they're playing Pickford, it's good. If not, then it's bad, I guess. Then Chelsea. I'm going to say that's bad, so let's do 3-1. And then Brighton. So that's 4 in favour of Kevin De Bruyne. And Kevin De Bruyne is a better player. That's all you got to know. What have I got in the glass? It is Coke Zero with a double shot of... I think it's Bullet. I think I put the bourbon Bullet in it. Or Buffalo Trace. Might be Buffalo Trace. Which is a very vanilla-y bourbon. Very lovely. Right, I've got time for 2 more questions. 2 more questions, then we'll go. We'll go at past. Ketil Vatum says, DCL is this season's Jimenez, a lovely, almost never captainable striker that gets points regularly. I captained him once. He didn't do anything. One of only 2 blanks. Softcore, you watch a lot of football. Who do you support? I support Celtic. I watch a lot of Premier League games just for the FPL thing of it. I don't watch as much as I should, but yeah, I watch enough. Maybe about 3-4 games to 4 to 8 games a week, depending on if I'm doing something on the weekend or not. I try and catch as many, what are they called? Match of the days as I can as well. So yeah, and I'll watch a Celtic game if I'm about, but it's been a hard watch this year, to be honest. Any last questions? I'm going to ask myself a question then. Do I transfer in Salah over Bruno? That's what I want to know. Like, I could do it. It could be a thing that we do. Because I was planning on doing it just to have Salah back. But I don't know if he's going to play. And Crystal Palace away is worse than Leeds. Leeds do take up a lot of possession, though. But they did concede twice to Newcastle. I would expect Bruno to score. Do I expect Crystal Palace to concede as much? Let's see what Crystal Palace is. They conceded 4 from Chelsea, 1 from Man United, 1 from Tottenham. They seem to really only 2 from Wolves. Yeah, I think that anomaly was the Chelsea game. They really only concede once. Bruno usually scores more than once. Yeah, I don't know. Am I Scottish? Yes, I am Scottish. That is my window, and outside the window is Parkhead. It's literally, the stadium's like right there. And when I'm watching a Celtic game, I have to turn the sound up or wear headphones, because if I don't, I'll hear a goal before I see it on Sky or whatever. It's bad news. Maybe I shouldn't mention I'm a mold supporter then. I had good memories from 2015. Oh, don't start me. Do I play FFS? Final Fantasy 6. FFS. What is FFS? Fantasy Football Sky. I don't play it. Not yet. I'm going to probably play it in about a year's time, but I'm not 100% on doing more than one thing during the week. Like, I miss a lot of transfers because I haven't paid attention to the price changes this year, so it's really difficult for me to like to then also play a different thing. I know what you're going to say, Sky doesn't have transfers or price changes, but yeah, I'm not very good at doing 2 things at once. Anyway, that is all we have time for today. I went a little bit longer. I wanted to just do a few questions. Thank you everyone who stuck about. Thank you everyone who watched Fantasy Football Scotland. That's what FFS stands for. No, I don't play it. Definitely not. I couldn't bring myself to bring in Tavernier and captain him every week. That's annoying. It's Ross says, I'm addicted to Football Manager. Help me. Me too, mate. Me too. Just for fun, let's see how much I've been playing the newest Football Manager. So I'm a year behind, so when everyone buys Football Manager 21, I buy Football Manager 20 and so on and so forth. And we have 587 hours 2020 already. Since when did I get it? I think I actually got it early this year because we were doing the summer stuff. But that's quite a lot. Too much. Anyway, thank you everyone, and I will see you next time. It's been lovely. I hope you all like it and subscribe and blah, 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 blah. Good luck. Catch you later. Bye.